My name is Erin. I'm a design strategist. I'm a consultant. What that means is that I get to use design as a tool for social impact. And I'm excited today because you'll get a little bit of a taste of what that means and what that looks like. But for the most part, I am able to work with teams and organizations, both nonprofits, teams and organizations in the public and private sector, and even the philanthropic space who are interested in using design as a framework to make big and transformative shifts. And I'm excited to bring a little bit of this emergent practice and some of the tools of social impact design to you all as prospective PCEF applicants. So we're talking about design, and I think it begs this question of what do we really mean? We may be familiar with design that we see in the built environment, maybe designed products that we interact with, or maybe visual design, pretty things that we get to look at and interact with in the world. And you very well may be a designer by some form of trade, a professional designer, perhaps a graphic designer or an architect, or know those who are. But I believe that design is a little bit more broad than that we can see design in systems as well, in institutions, organizations, politics and policies, and even in the social environments that we interact with. So these systems that we live, work, and play in, if they were designed, it brings up some questions of why were they designed? How were they designed? For whom? And by whom? And I think that design has the broadest definition that I've heard that I enjoy sharing with you all is design as thoughtful consideration. And June, you can go ahead, one more slide. If design equals thoughtful consideration, if it means thoughtful consideration, and if systems are designed, this opens up a possibility that we all can begin to examine systems through this lens of design, and that we all have this unique opportunity and invitation to redesign. So I'm, again, passionate about helping people use design as a tool in order to be part of a redesign so that the systems that we live, work, and play in work for more of us, for people in the community, for us in the community, and for people that, in your case, that you intend to serve with your projects, your programs, and your services. So we can go ahead, one more slide. During our first workshop, this is the second of two of these kind of public design workshops, we did a few discovery activities together. I believe that the first step of a solid impact redesign process is to listen. So discovery really is about listening. We walked through a couple informal and the more formal invitations to engage in some design research or discovery. We did have an invitation out for people to conduct listening sessions. It's okay if you didn't have a chance to do that yet. We'll be kind of starting at a point today. But I just wanted to give a little bit of context that the first step of a redesign process really is to listen well, to listen to your stakeholders and to your beneficiaries, those for whom or with whom you are trying to design. And then go ahead, one more slide. And so today we're going to be going through a few what I call ideation activities. Ideation is like a designy term for coming up with ideas. You can think of it as brainstorming. So we'll be going through some guided prompts and activities together. I'll be guiding you through kind of some things. So it'll feel a little bit interactive. It'll be a little bit one-sided, but you will have a chance to kind of debrief in smaller groups as well. One thing I want us to be thinking about, though, as we move through these activities, even in the next, hour and 20 minutes or so that we have together, is that design as a process is also iterative. And by iterative, I simply mean repetition. So in some cases, design is intentionally repetitive. It's a process that moves us through ways of expanding and then contracting. So today we're going to be actually doing a couple of those iterations or repetitions together intentionally. I'll be asking you to come up with ideas and then kind of choose some ideas and come up with ideas and choose some ideas. So this expansion and contraction or, coming up with multiple ideas or possibilities, are narrowing into a kind of a range of ideas or possibilities. That's intentional, and that these cycles are often repeated, but we'll be going through a couple of those cycles even today. So with that being said, we are going to start to switch gears. I'll stop kind of just chatting at you, but we will be kind of doing some work together, and that will require for you to kind of be comfortable, first of all, and kind of get in a position where you are ready to design, come up with some ideas together. If it's comfortable for you to have this be a thought exercise, I encourage that. I do encourage, if you also would like to have a piece of paper or something to write with, please grab that. So I'll kind of be chatting for the next 30 seconds or so if you do want to reposition yourself or grab something to write with or write on. Or if, of course, if you feel more comfortable doing this on like a digital form, maybe get a document open on your computer. So kind of get ready for some activity. Awesome. So while we get ready, a couple things to keep in mind that as you get your kind of your materials ready, be thinking, who is my kind of stakeholder in this project, program, or idea that I might potentially be bringing to the PCEF application process? We're going to be walking through something called a pains and gains activity. A pains and gains activity is a design tool that can be used to take inventory of what you might have recently learned about your PCEF priority community for this project, if you happened to attend some of our earlier workshops and did some of our discovery work together. In addition to that, let's say and even if you might have missed that, you can still use today's activity and jump straight in to identify some of the most impactful opportunities for the stakeholders or beneficiaries that your project aims to serve. Just so that you know as well, if you did happen to miss out on that first workshop and you're curious about what I'm talking about and what the discovery work looked like, you'll be able to kind of reference that at a later point. I know that these materials are going to be made public. So hopefully you have something to kind of work with, write on, or you're ready and you have your stakeholder in mind, your who in mind. If you have your material and you have like your stakeholder in mind, if you want to just give me a quick, if you're on video, a quick thumbs up, or you can put it in the chat, or you can do like an emoji. I can kind of see you. John, I see you. Toma, thank you. Ryan, awesome, thank you. It's a little bit harder with my screen, but I like to see. Yep, thank you, Chris. I see you ready. Okay, see if you ready. Kate and Amelia, thank you. Awesome. Nandini, thank you. Perfect. All right, I'm excited. Ideation is one of my favorite parts of design. But so the pains and gains activity. Okay, so you have a piece of paper. June, go ahead and go one more slide and let's get our, what I call a canvas ready. It's just our piece of paper. So you have a sheet of paper, or maybe you have a document, or maybe you're just thinking of this as a thought exercise. That's great. But go ahead and think in terms of 2 columns. So you can label these columns 1 and 2. Be thinking in your mind about who is this person or group of people, this priority community that your project intends to serve or benefit the most. I'm going to now move us into a couple prompts. I'm going to give the prompt and then I'll stop talking for like 2 or 3 minutes or so. So you'll have silent kind of individual reflection time. And we'll do this a couple times and then come back together. So June, go ahead, one more. So our first brainstorm, in that first column, so it could be column number 1, just write the word pains, or pain, and you're going to be spending the next 2 minutes just considering what your stakeholders' pains are. And by this we mean, what are your stakeholders' pains or fears in relation to the impacts of climate change? What are they afraid of? What are their specific worries? What are even some examples of potential or actual obstacles? So in that first column, we're just going to be brainstorming potential stakeholder pains. So I'll go on mute. I'll give us about 2 minutes. About 30 more seconds. All right, so that was about 2 minutes. So I invite you to move on to your second column, and in that second column, to write the word gains. And for the next 2 minutes, we're going to be considering what your stakeholders' gains are. Specifically, what are your stakeholders' future dreams or aspirations? What are some ways they could benefit from the opportunities related to climate justice, environmental justice? What are some potential or actual ways they could reach their own sense of success? So when it comes to the opportunities around climate, what are some potential gains? So 2 minutes. About 20 more seconds. All right. So wrap up that second brainstorm. And that was an activity in expansion. We're going to be moving now to some sense of kind of narrowing, but to do so, I want us to pause together. So I'll put another minute on the clock, and please take a look at what you produced or kind of think through the things that came to top of mind. Reread your brainstorms. What do you notice? What surprises you about what appeared or what even didn't appear? So get curious around your brainstorms. I'll put a minute on the clock. You can also choose to, I call it annotate, like maybe you want to circle something if you chose to write down or highlight it. So kind of start to reflect on what you produced in the last 4 minutes together. Okay, so as you finish up your kind of initial reflection, I'm going to give us a way to organize those brainstorms even further. So either on the same piece of paper, if you happen to have room below or kind of right next to it, I invite us to set up another kind of space. You will have to reference your first brainstorm. So just kind of, it might be difficult if this was like a back and front paper situation. So just make that choice wisely. But just draw two columns, just like before, but with a vertical line in each column. So you can reference the slide, but essentially the first column is going to have one vertical line down it, and the second column will have another. We're going to be placing things along these lines, so leave like some room. And go ahead to the next slide. In the first column, the invitation to organize your brainstorms is to organize those panes kind of on a based on severity. So you can draw even arrows on that line so that the things at the top of the line, towards the top, are extremely severe pains. And the things towards the bottom are more moderately felt pains. So when you look at your pains brainstorm, move some of those same items and begin to organize them on this line of severity. The more severe pains should be placed higher on the line. So I'll go ahead and give us about 2 minutes to just organize those initial, the pains that you brainstormed along this line. About 10 more seconds. It's okay if you're not quite finished, but I just want to share the next kind of way to organize. All right. So take a quick pause and I'll share this next way to organize and then we'll have some working time. But on that second column, we're going to be organizing gains. But this time it's going to be based on relevance. So the top of the line, you can write down extremely like essential or extremely relevant. And then the bottom, you can label nice to haves. So for the next 2 minutes, we'll have some time to organize the gains that you originally brainstormed based on essentiality or relevance. And the most essential or the most relevant gains should be placed higher on the line. So you can rewrite those gains, but now kind of organizing them along this line of essentiality. So you'll have about 2 minutes, and I'll give us a full 2 minutes that way. If you want to return to your pains organization, that's fine too. But hopefully you've had a chance to really kind of relook at your two brainstorms and organize them. About 30 more seconds. All right. So we've had some time to organize our initial brainstorms around our stakeholders' pains and gains. And I want to invite us for another pause to reflect. So you should have kind of those two columns where you organized your initial brainstorms. Go ahead and take a look at the work that you just produced. We've been spending maybe 10 minutes together doing just some rough brainstorming, but take a look, especially at those last two organization columns and the lines that you drew and the ideas that you plotted against. And take a look at what you noticed. What's sticking towards the top? What fell below towards the bottom? Anything that surprises you? So just a minute to reassess and look at your own work. So we've had a lot of opportunities for idea generation, expanding ideas. This is now the time where we're going to start to contract. So start to intentionally narrow, and hopefully you have some information to do so. What's the most severe pain? What's some of the most essential or relevant gains? And I have a slide that's next that has a lot of words. I want to just read those words first. But the invitation is really to use the next final time together before we'll put you into some breakout rooms so you can kind of share your discoveries. But you can either do this just as a thought exercise, or if it helps to kind of free write or do some written responses, or again, annotate what you wrote. The opportunity, there's kind of two invitations. One is to really start to think, what are the major opportunities to alleviate or relieve your stakeholders' most severe pains? So you can start to look at what really rose to the top on that left-hand column where we organize pains. What are those opportunities to alleviate those pains and related to the impacts of climate change for your stakeholder? The second opportunity is, what are the major opportunities to, and June, if you want to go to the next, yep, to increase your stakeholders' potential, essential, or relevant gains? So what's your opportunities to increase those gains? These are probably not going to be the same, and that's fine. But the way to kind of look at those and synthesize or assess the two columns is to think, what are the ways that I could alleviate pain or increase gain? And June, I think you can go maybe even one more build. Yep. So at the end of the day, be thinking of what are the opportunities, one opportunity to either increase gain or alleviate pain. So we'll kind of start with just some independent thinking time around this, and then we'll break you into breakout groups in about 90 seconds. All right, so this is gonna be fun. We have just a few more. We're gonna do a lot in the next 20 minutes. It's gonna feel a little bit. Whew, you'll feel like you've been through something, I think, which is great. But like a mental little journey, hopefully. So we will be jumping straight into, as promised, ideation, which is a fancy design term, I think, for just brainstorming. We're coming up with ideas. So we are going to generate some ideas together. So ideation activities can be thought of as brainstorming activities that can be used to identify potential ideas inspired, in this case, by your deeper understanding of your stakeholders or beneficiaries, pains and gains. We're going to be just brainstorming a bunch of different type of ideas. I kind of use the term brainstorming, assuming you might know what that means, but I think like in terms of general rules for brainstorming, especially for ideation, is as many ideas as possible. The goal is to expand your bubble of what might be possible as much as big as it can. Don't be married to any one idea because it's just something that you're going to think about and capture on a piece of paper or in your head or on your computer. So generate as much as possible. So the goal is to kind of keep your pen writing or your brain kind of going for the next couple prompts. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and prep a canvas. You might want a new sheet of paper or a new document. You don't need to reference anything from before. In fact, please don't. The only thing you really need is that idea of pain or the idea of gain. So no, kind of, I would even like encourage you to put the other ones aside because they're not as relevant anymore, just the one pain or the one gain that you're moving forward. So set up your kind of brainstorming space. Think of 3 different columns because you'll have 3 different prompts with things to respond to. And you should have in mind that key opportunity, the pain or the gain from activity 1 that we just finished. We'll call them columns A, B, and C. So I will be giving you 3 different prompts. And just like last time, I'm going to give it and then give you time to generate as much ideas as possible. Your brain's going to be on storm or whatever. You know what I mean. Okay, you're going to storm that brain. That's fine. All right. I know some of you are laughing. I see the laughter. It's not as satisfying for me, but it's not even that funny. Okay, so go ahead and go to the next slide. One pain or gain. And then, so in column A, you have the chance to think of as many products. By products, I mean items or things that could help alleviate that pain or increase that gain. Items or things only. So what are products? They could exist, not exist. Things, items or things that can be used to alleviate your pain or increase gain. I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock and be quiet. About halfway, be thinking, what are products? Items or things. They might not exist yet. 10 more seconds to write the last few ideas. Okay. All right. Finish your last product idea. And in column B, the second column, we're going to be spending 2 minutes to brainstorm services or program. Broadly, you can think of support services or programs that help alleviate pain or increase gain. Again, these don't need to necessarily exist. You don't even need to edit them to be things that you could provide. Be as broad as possible. What are services or programs support that could alleviate the pain or increase the gain that you identified for your stakeholder? Do not be constrained by what you think you do or provide. These are as many ideas as possible. It's our halfway mark, so 1 more minute. As many ideas as possible related to services or programs. All right, about 10 more seconds to finish up that last inkling of idea. All right, so for our third brainstorm, be thinking of what experiences, felt or intangible, that could alleviate pain or increase gain. A way to approach this is if you could snap your finger right now and give your stakeholder or beneficiary an experience, a felt or kind of intangible, like not hand them a thing, but like give them an experience. What is comprised of that experience? What's part of that experience? Maybe it's not tangible, right? Like support, we can't really feel that, but what is comprised of an experience that could just increase the gain or alleviate the pain? I'll go ahead and go on mute. So 2 minutes for experiences or experience. About 20 more seconds. So we do have a pattern. After we generate, I encourage you to take a moment to pause. So we will put another minute on, but use this minute to simply just gaze at what you've done. You know, think about the things that you've thought about, reread if you had a chance to write things down, but take a look and notice what's really sticking out to you about what just got generated. We spent maybe 6 minutes doing that. What were some of the gaps? Did anything surprise you? Maybe you want to start to circle things, but just a minute to review kind of your work. So we're wrapping up just on that final minute. I do think that taking a minute to look and reflect is an important part of the design process because we bring a lot of our own contexts, our own experiences to how we answer those questions, and getting curious about why things are there, are not there, is important. We don't have a lot of time to dig into it, but getting curious around either what continues to pop up or what even might be missing is an important part of the design process. And get curious around kind of your own ability to generate ideas in a specific space. And that will be, I think, just as revealing as the ideas themselves sometimes. As we prepare for kind of our final small group time, and I want to make sure you get some more time in those small groups, these are two invitations. So June, go ahead to the next slide. Two things to kind of think about to prepare for small groups. So I'll put these in the chat. And maybe we'll give another minute as we prepare the small groups, and then we'll pop you in. But the questions are there any ideas that you're interested in moving forward? And do these, think about where you started. How do these ideas relate to the pains or gains of your stakeholder? Right? Are there ideas that you wish to move forward? How are these ideas relating to the pains or gains of your stakeholder? I encourage you to write those two questions down specifically, and maybe on your own time to do some reflection around, deeper reflection around that.